right, anybody not get a handout that would like one? Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. You want one over there, Janice, still? You good? Okay. Here you go. Take one down. Pass it around. Two. Here we go. Anybody else? Handouts. Handouts. If you get braver later, you can come get one right here in front of me. Thank you, sir. All right, my watch says 4 o'clock, so howdy. Howdy. Oh, I love it. It's so wonderful. It's just like I'm in College Station. It's so beautiful. All right. Good afternoon to you all. Welcome to our quarterly conference for the third quarter of 2024. Thank you. Welcome. Thank you all for being here. Got a few more coming in. We'll say howdy as they walk in. Let's see. So the goal of today is kind of to go through the church, talk about the ministry and life of the church. For time for y'all to ask questions at the end. So you got beautiful new pens right in front of you in the front of the pews. So if you're like listening, you think I have a question, write it down, and you can answer it later on as it goes along. Sound good? Okay. Let's begin with some prayer. Let's pray. Lord God, we thank you for the gift of this afternoon. Thank you for once again gathering together our congregation on your day in order to live into the life that you've given us as a church family. We pray, God, that you might guide us in our conversations, open our hearts and minds to you as you are moving amongst us, and help us to more fully live out our calling as a congregation, that we might in turn more fully offer the gift of Christ to this community and wherever you might use us. So give us the right spirit, oh God, that in doing so we might be more right with you. We pray this in Christ Jesus' glorious name. Amen. Amen. So as we go through this, I am going to invite different members of the leadership team to come forward. I do want to point out our chair and our vice chair for the leadership team. Beth Averett is our chair, president, whatever we call it, the title of it, and Stephen Marsh is our vice chair, vice president, whatever we call it there. But those persons. So certainly, as we're going along, if y'all, later on we have questions, you can ask them, or if I miss something, I'll make sure you call out to me. Okay? Thank you. Okay. So the format today. Is, I think I said, going to be very much like we do leadership team meetings. So you'll kind of see how we do business of the church when we gather together as a leadership team. So let's start off with money. Yay! All right. So you have a finance report on the back side of your handout here. It is through July. Every at the end of every month, our bookkeeper, Beth Swaim, does our books, right? And then she sends me a finance report for the month. I usually have to denumber it a little bit to make it a little bit more legible for people, and then that's what we receive as leadership team as it is before them. And then what you see before you is a little bit like what they receive. So anyway, it's income and expenses as you would expect for us. First thing you see is pledge contributions, and we talked about this. The title we have used for many years is estimate of giving rather than pledge, but it's the same thing, right? It is where someone makes a written commitment, a pledge to the church, and then they seek to honor that throughout the year, however that may be. And so through July, our budgeted receipts for pledge giving was $291,580. And we've actually brought in $309,000 at that point. So pledge giving is above where we had budgeted. That means that we're receiving more pledges than we expected to, which is a good thing for us. Pledge giving helps us to forecast what we will receive. That's why it's so important for us. And it's a commitment on your part for those that pledge to give back to God, to the church through pledge giving. So that's pledge giving. Identifiable contributions. And if you do not have a pledge on file, but you write a check and we know who gives it to us, that is an identifiable contribution. That's a number that we have to estimate at the beginning of the year because it's not written down, not pledged. We don't know exactly the number. We kind of look at historical forecasts to create that number. So the budget was $116,000 with way too many sixes in it right there. I should have looked at that earlier. I would have averaged that a little bit. Anyway, about $117,000 up through July, and we received $91,000, so we are behind a bit on identifiable contributions on there. But once again, we're going to have to forecast that number. That's not a number that we know for sure what we're going to receive. Cash is what it sounds like. It's how much we receive. So if we get a $20 bill in the offering plate on Sunday and it does not say it comes from John Doe, then we don't know who it came from. That's just cash. And so that's what that is right there. Once again, we don't know how to predict that. Obviously, we kind of look at historical trends on that. So it's slightly below budgeted, but it's just, quite frankly, a gust on there. As you can see, and I've said this before, we don't get a lot of just plain cash. If we were a different era, that might be different, but it's not now. So that's there. Bradshaw Trust, Lucy Bradshaw, when she passed away, left us a large amount of money that is sitting at the Texas Methodist Foundation in trust. We, in turn, receive money back from that trust every month. And it depends on when the checks come as far as how it works out, but that's what that amount of money there is on the Bradshaw Trust. It's just money that comes back to us through there. Use of facilities, if someone comes and uses our buildings for a wedding, bar mitzvah, I don't know. Probably not that, right? But for something, right? The homeschool co-op that uses our facilities, groups like that, that's use of facilities funds. Once again, we just predict how much we're going to get on there, but that's where we are for use of facilities. In-kind donations is a funny thing. It's if you give money for something else, if you give money to us, but it's meant for the food pantry, if you give money to us, but it's meant for you name it, but it's not one of our ministries, that's an in-kind donation, meaning we get it, but we immediately turn it around and give it back to the person that you intended it for. So that's just a little bit of money there. And then debt retirement contributions, when someone gives money specifically to pay down our debt, that's debt retirement contributions there. Other revenue pretty much is interest that we receive on our accounts. That's the main thing what other revenue is. So through July, we had budgeted to receive $420,000, and we had received a little over $416,000, so we were slightly below where we budgeted for revenue. Okay? All right. Expenditures. You see all of our headers for our different expense areas in our budget. I don't include every single sub-paragraph, sub-number on there because we would spend 3 days looking at those numbers here. So you see the overall trends for our different areas there. Administrative expenses are things that we use at the church for office supplies, things like that to run the church. Children's ministries is to run our children's ministries here. Vehicles and trailers, that's everything from the registration fee for our van and our trailers to maintenance on them, things like that. Obviously not a big budget item there. Connectional giving, we used to call that apportionment. So when we were United Methodist, we now call it a connectional giving. It's the money we give back to the conference. We're in the Trinity Conference, and then to the global church, the Global Methodist Church as a whole. The Global Methodist Church gets 1% of our revenue from the previous year. That's kind of how it's forecasted with some deductions. The conference, the Trinity Conference, gets 1.75%. It's still significantly lower than back when we used to pay apportionments in the United Methodist Church. So that's what a connectional giving is. They don't actually bill us. The Global Methodist Church is really trying to make this where it is the churches as they feel called to give. And so because they don't bill us, it means we're a little bit behind where I budgeted just because we haven't been paying attention to it, quite frankly, all that much. But that's where we are. We'll catch up to that before the end of the year. Debt retirement is It's what it is. It's paying off the debts, the two current debts we had, which you see at the bottom of the page. One is for 409 West South Street, which we purchased 3 years ago. Still $123,000 and $123,722 left on that note. The other one is for 605 Abbey Road, where I live, and it still has $302,000 left on that note. So that's what the debt retirement is numbers on the budget there, or on the treasurer's report. Education typically is adult education related things, so everything from the upper room devotionals that we get to some of our classroom materials, things like that. That's what education is on there. Evangelism is evangelism, so it's things that we spend money on in order to share the word of God, share the good news of Jesus Christ, typically witness related things, hospitality related things of that sort. Insurance. Dun, dun, dun. Insurance is our building insurance and our liability insurance. Y'all have heard me say at different points over the last year and a half, it is very, very expensive. It is $90,000 now to do the insurance of our church. I will talk about insurance later on because it's an issue, but that's insurance on there. Maintenance. So I shouldn't be laughing about that, should I? Maintenance is, it's maintenance, right? It's keeping our facilities going. You can see that is way over budget there, right? We have replaced 5, 6, 200 unit air conditioner units this year. I don't honestly know how many. It has been so many off the top of my head. But air conditioning, we've had to clear some trees off this year. We're getting ready to do some other major projects. So maintenance is always a big deal here on our property. This has been not a good year for air conditioners at Christ Point Methodist Church, Lindale, which we have cycles like that. So that's maintenance right there. Music ministries is everything from choir to the praise band to music makers, things like that. That's music ministries here at the church. Our licensing, we have to have CCLI licensing for all of our music, and we have to have video licensing in order to do videos. So that's also a part of music ministries here at the church. Parsonage, it is mainly maintenance and utilities for it should be mainly my house. We've been kind of adjusting that with the houses that we have, but that's what the parsonage is. So if it's ever high, usually because we had to do some kind of repair on a house that we have in our church. Pastoral support, that is paying me and all of anything related that was non-pension or health related there. And then pension and health plan after that is my pension and my health plan. I think we mentioned before that, but the health plan for Global Methodist clergy is not a cheap one. It's about $30,000 a year on your part. Not mention what I pay on it, but what y'all pay on there. So and there's nothing we can do about that as long as you want a pastor. You can talk about it otherwise if you want. So, all right. Staff support then is all the rest of our staff, so Ashley and Mark and Lee Beaumont, our administrative assistant, Vicky, Galia, Sarah, I'm just pointing at people, right? Jason, all our Leanne, our custodian, people like that. That is our staff support number on there. Obviously a big amount because we have a lot of staff. None of them make a whole lot of money. Just 2 of them in here, but anyway, or more than that. But that's what staff support is. Stewardship then is our stewardship campaign, which we haven't done yet this year. So that's what that is. Utilities is electricity, water, gas, phone, internet, obviously things like that. Utilities usually get skewed across the year. We spend a lot of money on gas in January, February to keep these buildings warm, and then it kind of tapers off, and then we spend more money on electricity to keep them cool, but it usually balances out over the long run for the year. Y'all, if you have not known, but maybe you do, we've done a lot of work on trying to bring down our utility costs over the last few years. Thank you, trustees, and our leadership team did a big insulation project across the street over there because that building otherwise is an energy hog. You've got the solar panels, which I guarantee you right now are doing really great with our wonderful sunny weather outside right now. So those have all helped us when it comes to utility issues here at the church. But utilities obviously are very expensive to keep all of our facilities going here. Worship usually is oil for candles, banners, things like that. So that's what worship expenses typically are. When I buy grape juice for communion, that's worship supplies. So not a huge expense, but that's what that is right there. And then youth ministries is the money that we use for our youth program here at the church. So total expenditures, not counting First Kids, that's below that total expenditures for the year. Budgeted was $480,000. Actual was $511,000, so we are $31,000 over budget for expenditures, mainly due to maintenance-related things, amongst others on there. I will note, and I've said this before, if you see the budget, you notice that our revenue forecast is lower than our expense forecast. We've kind of known that we were in that position the last couple of years as we continue to navigate our new life as a Global Methodist Church. We are working towards balancing that out, but that's something that we are dealing with as a whole. So, net operating revenue, what we've actually brought in versus what we've actually spent, we are negative $95,586.90. Hold that in your mind there, right? So First Kids, is a ministry of the church. Only reason why it's separate on here is because that's historically how it's been done, but they are a ministry of the church. So we have the same tax ID number. It is no different than youth ministry or children's ministry, that kind of stuff. But, they bring in a different revenue source because of the tuition and so forth over there. So First Kids income and expenses you see on there, and they're pretty much where they're supposed to be on that end. We try to run them slightly in the black if possible, just to keep that going well. But it's a great ministry that takes care of a lot of children, and they're getting ready to start up another season here pretty quickly. So net for the year, we are negative $92,551 for the year through July. And I note on there that our total cash available as of last Thursday is $161,115.62. Okay. I know I had questions for later, but later will be later. Any questions specifically about this? Not about ministry, just this report right here in front of you. Yes, sir. Let me look real quick. Let me see if I have that here in my notes. So it's going up. Last I looked at it, it was going up. So the markets, as they have been the last few years, it is bringing in more in investments than it is we are receiving from it. Last I checked. I don't think I have that number in front of me here with my reports, but I do know that much. Last time I looked at it, that's where it was. So good question, though, yeah. Because you think if you're receiving money from that and it's not getting any, it has been, yeah, right, exactly, yeah. But last I checked, it was going up, so yeah. Yes, sir?
This report then covers the first 7 months of the year.
That's right, yep.
Is there any difference historically maybe between the first half and second half?
That's a good question. So, I don't have to tell you that it's been a weird 6 years, right? So if you had asked me this question in 2019, we didn't show any, our giving pretty much was static across the year. A lot of churches have a big dip in the summertime, right? And then it increases usually at the end of the year, maybe at the beginning of the year also. A big, nice curve for the most part. This church, at least a couple of years that I was here, first couple, didn't really show that. I didn't see that, at least not in a very distinct pattern. And then we had 2020, we had COVID and so forth and so on. The last few years, I see more of that, where we do see a dip in the summertime when it comes to giving, and then it has some peaks up front where some people give all up front. Usually it's investment related, that kind of stuff, or IRAs, whatever the case may be. And then oftentimes at the end of the year, as the year gets towards the end, I'm sure it's tax related reasons amongst others, it also is there. So we see more of a curve now than we used to. So I do, based on more recent years, expect that to go up, but I can't, data is data, and it's not, we don't have enough good trends to say that for sure, right? I don't want to guarantee that. So Tom Kaler, our lay leader last year, when we officially became Global Methodist, he made a statement that has stuck in my head for a long time. He forecasts that we probably have 2 years of hardness, let's say it that way, right? Hardness when it comes to giving, hardness when it comes to living into our new life when it comes to attendance, all that kind of stuff. Just as we kind of live into who we are, we continue to say goodbye to people who have chosen to move on, that kind of stuff. And so we're nearing the end of that 2-year trend. And so, and I don't know where Tom got 2 years from, but it was a good number. I think it was probably a smart number. And so we'll see how the rest of this year progresses, and then into 2025. There are signs of positivity, but there's also election in like 2 months. So, that obviously influences things. Yes, ma'am.
In the first bids,
Yeah.
on the expenses, is that, is that just because we're
Exactly, yeah. Summertime, they don't get any, they get very little revenue, but they're still having expenses for this and that. Both directors still get paid. They're buying supplies, that kind of stuff. So yeah, it does, yeah. It's at least that's the trends on that one, yeah. Good question. Yes, sir.
This company, the trustees, are we seeing a lot of things that's on the air conditioners that we replace? Most of our old wore out, we still got more to go.
Yeah, let me hold that to trustees, but good question. Yeah. That's one where I shouldn't make any promises to, but yeah, okay. All right. Yes, ma'am. I'll bring that up here in a second. Yeah, good question. Yeah, the house over there. Yeah. It does impact this, but good. Yeah. All right. Okay. Going back to our agenda, update on financial reviews. So a few months ago, we decided as a congregation to do a review of our finances, not an audit. An audit usually means you have an issue. We don't have issues. It's just that our books have not been reviewed, at least in my lifetime here, and I don't know how far back that goes. And so we've been going through a review for a couple months now. The hard thing about doing the review is you have to review your assets, and it is hard to figure out what this building was worth in 1973. And the house where our office is even worse. So we've been trying to get data and information to finish off the review. What I told the leadership team last week is we're about to a point now where we're going to get as much as we can get. I can't find documentation for the office building. There's just nothing that's out there. And it was built in 68, 69 from what I understand, so that's probably why. There's a few other properties that we kind of have, we're not good on the information there. And if you want an asset's only worth what you paid for it, right, or whatever it costs. So it doesn't matter if this property could be valued at $100 million, right? That's not how accounting works. And so it's what you paid for it, and then you have depreciation, that kind of lovely stuff. So anyway, having historical data has been a problem, which means we probably have had this issue for a long time, which is good to have a review then. But that's where we are on the review. I expect that when we gather together again, I guess for our next quarterly conference or sometime around there, or maybe we'll have a report to the church, but we'll have something to report to y'all by then on there. But so far, so good on that review. And then stewardship and plan giving. So last time we had a stewardship campaign was in May of last year. We didn't do one in 2022 because we're doing something else that year, voting and so forth and so on. Like no giggling or anything. I mean, sorry, okay. So we didn't do a stewardship campaign. We did one in May last year because we had to do something in order to move forward. I promised you at that point in time that we wouldn't do one for at least another year, so we decided to go back to October, which is a historical time when we as a church do stewardship. Stewardship is not just about finances, right? It's about how you steward your time, your resources, your talents, and so forth and so on, but always money is a part of that. So we will be doing stewardship once again in October, which should, to an extent, maybe help us with the giving thing, because it's always good for a lot of people to be reminded of why you give and the importance of giving and so forth and so on. So we'll be doing that in October as a church. Plan giving. So, and this is something we should have had many years ago, but plan giving is having a program in place for people to, everything from being able to put the church in their will, estates, it is defined contribution. Sorry, that's not the word I'm looking for. Anyway, it's IRA-related things and so forth and so on. So we've been working on that for a few months to get a program in place. Leadership team had a presentation back in May from someone who has a last name that looks just like mine, who happens to do this for a living. And then Jennifer Newman, right here, met with Marvin Methodist Church a month and a half ago or so, because they've had many years of plan giving programs in place, just kind of hear what they're doing. So she and I are meeting with someone from the Texas Methodist Foundation this week to see if they are the ones that help us develop this program and get us in place on that. They may not be, but that's the plan, to talk to them, and if not, we'll go from there. But I hope that we will have something to at least present also, maybe in October or next time we meet as a church. But we're working on developing that. So the church relying just on regular giving is a thing of the past. It's been a past for a long time. We have not kept up with that. This is one way for us for people to be able to give back to the church in different ways other than just on the offering plate on Sundays. And so know that we're developing it. It does take time, and you have to do all sorts of, policies and procedures and so forth on there and get it all your ducks in a row. So we are working towards that, though. Okay? By the way, I didn't make the finance team get up, so why don't y'all do that real quick? Sorry. So Jennifer and Stuart and Sandy. Jenna, you have to stand up, I'm sorry, as a treasurer. So Jenna is our treasurer of the church. If something has to be signed, it is her blood that gets signed on the paperwork. And then Stuart and Jennifer and Sandy are the three other finance members of the leadership team. Can you give them a round of applause? I appreciate them. All right. Very good. All right. Let's move on to trustees then. So our trustees, Aaron, I see you right there. Please stand up, my friend. And then, yeah, and Dale. So the finance jumped up. They were full of excitement and pep, and not so much with the trustees. So we were too, yes, it is a very, amen to that, right? Okay, so update on 409 West South Street. In November of last year at our church conference, you voted to agree to let the trustees begin the process of divesting ourselves of 409 West South Street. If you don't know the house, if you know where We Care is, there's a side fence there, and the yard behind that one is 409 West South Street. We bought that 3 years ago because we are landlocked, and an opportunity came along to purchase that piece of property. And we've used it for a few things, including it was Ashley's house for a period of time. But we voted as a church to begin the process of selling it. So after Ashley moved out, we got it ready to go on the market, and it's been on the market since February, so 6 months now. If you did not know, in Lindale, Texas, the market is heavy saturated right now. Prices are through the roof compared to where they were 3 years ago, but the market's very, very saturated. So we've had people look at it, but not necessarily got an offer yet. We have dropped the price down a few times on it in order to try to get some more attention. We had some last week, but that's where it is right now. It's a reminder, because it is an asset, because it is a property-related thing, when we do sell it, first thing we do is we pay off the remainder of the loan, right? $123,722 as of right now. And then we have a few places where we need to allocate money in our designated giving account, mainly tied to 15662 Region Drive when we did work on it, and on maintenance-related things as well. And then whatever's left, we will, as leadership team, divest it as needed across the church. But that's a goal on that thing. Now the good news is when we bought that house, it was at $205,000. So likely, no matter what, we're going to make something off of that house. I should knock on wood on that, right? Sorry. But anyway, that's where we are on that. But it's still in process, and we've debated what else to do with it, but that's where we are right now on that house. Okay? Insurance. So I mentioned how expensive insurance is a little while ago. Let me drink water. We found out last month that our insurance company, which is called Guide One, is dropping us as a client here when our policy ends in October. Reason being is they said we had too many claims over the year. Nonetheless, we were already planning on doing shopping on insurance anyway, because $90,000 is a lot of money. So we are in the process of that, working on some documentation and paperwork in order to see what options we have for insurance. I will tell you that the guy one apparently now is wanting to talk to us again. I don't know on that. I'm sure they're going to charge us more money, but we are working on insurance here. So if you looked at our budget and say, 2020, 2021, it was like $40,000, $45,000. That's how much our insurance has gone up over just a few very short years. And maybe you've seen that in your own homes, in your own lives as well. I know churches especially have seen it. A lot of churches have been dropped that I'm connected with across our connection. And unfortunately, I know some churches that do not have insurance currently because they cannot afford it. So I just know that is something that our trustees and our leaders are working on very, very diligently for us. It is a big cost, but also it's very important for us because we have a lot going on here. And it's not just facilities, it's also liability and taking care of everybody. Okay? Fiber network, and so that is not your wheat brand, all right? That is the data network, the internet, and so forth and so on here at the church. This church, like any other organization, runs a lot on internet. Go figure, it's 2024, huh? So everything from live streaming on Sundays to being able to do our finance and our books, right? To our phone line. Our phone system is internet-based. And so a lot of our life here at the church is connected around internet, and our fiber network was put together in pieces over years as things were added and come along and so forth and so on. So we got to a point a few weeks ago where the squirrels had done one more time, had destroyed something, which I'm not kidding on that. Squirrels are Satan's pet. And so, so we got to the point where we had no choice but to begin working on completely rebuilding our fiber network here at the church. If you know anything about fiber optics, it is not cheap, and so that's one more big expense that we're working on right now. It's begun as a project, but we cannot live without that as a congregation. And once again, everything from live streams to our finances to our phones to our air conditioners. The air conditioning right now is connected to the internet, right? So that is a big project that's going on right now as well. Other major facilities things, so air conditioning, it was asked a little while ago if we see any light at the end of the tunnel. And I like I said, I don't know how many we've done this year, and I don't remember how many we've done across my 6 years here, but it's been a lot. The thing about it is we have 34, I think, units, something like that across our facilities. So, you know, doing 3 or 4 is a lot, or 5 or 6, but it still is just 1% or a small percentage of our total. So, in fact, we know of one unit right now that likely is about to be replaced across the street. So every time that comes along, it's $10,000, $11,000, $12,000, right? It's not cheap, but y'all like air conditioning, right? Yes. Of course you do, right? We have to have it. So, and it's because our facilities are always being used here, and that's a good thing. God gave us this gift. We are stewards of that gift. We have to maintain that gift, and so, but that is being worked on again. Right now. Aaron, since you're standing, any other facilities related things to point out? Fiber, yeah. Did I miss anything on that? Okay, all right. So the leadership team is always busy, but the reality is the trustees is the hardest of the jobs on the leadership team. It is nonstop. It's always a phone call about an air conditioner not working, or a toilet that's running, or a tree that's fallen down, or a roof that's got holes in it, or a light fixture that's gone out, or the fiber network's gone out, right? And so, or squirrels in the attic, yes, which apparently is a long-term problem here. But it's a hard job, and they don't get paid a single dime to do what they do. And many of y'all across this room have probably been trustees at different points in time. So anyway, we appreciate our trustees a lot. We know it's a big job, and it is a big toll on them to do what they do. And I can't express my appreciation enough for their hard work. It's nonstop. So we appreciate y'all. Good. I mean, it's even, mowing our empty lot, right? Just so the city doesn't get mad at us. So it's just so much stuff, and it's so hot right now. So, good? Missing anything, sir? No. Yeah. So we got a few other projects going on. Security, especially when it comes to our children and our youth, is always important. So we're getting ready to do an update at our fellowship hall to add cameras over there, which our Family Ministry Center has cameras all over the place in there just to keep things monitored. And reality is that cameras are as much to protect our employees and our volunteers as it is to protect our kids. But that's going on next door in the fellowship hall as well. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. All right, staffing. So Staff Parish Relations Committee, if you're on SPRC, would you please stand? Larry and Mark and Susan Seals our other person, but she's getting ready to go to California right now with family. So Larry and Mark, we thank you all very much for that. Trustees is nonstop. SPRC, when something is not going right, it's probably the emotionally hardest of the positions in a church. So the big thing right now is children's ministry. So our former children's ministry director, Audra Latimer, we parted ways with her back in May. And if you hadn't noticed that, that maybe tells you part of the issue with that. But we haven't had a children's ministry director since May. We made it through the summer on volunteer work, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears with volunteers, as it is a case in the church, through camp, through vacation Bible school, through Sunday school, through all the stuff and all the planning and so forth and so on. So first of all, we appreciate our volunteers who have helped us keep going over these months. It has not been easy. We appreciate them greatly for taking care of our children here at the church, which is so important for us. So the plan was to navigate through the summer, to give ourselves a breathing time, but also to kind of assess where we needed to be. And the leadership team has since then, over the last several weeks, been working towards a plan for our next children's ministry director. So the big three takeaways that I think we discovered as we prepare for another children's ministry director is, A, we need someone who can be here during the week, specifically during office hours, maybe not every hour of the day in office, but office hours, because they need to be a face of the program, either when you come to visit the office or volunteers, whatever the case may be. And so we need someone that can be here sometime Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday during the week, along with all the other times. I mean, it's Sunday morning, it's Wednesday evening, and so forth and so on, but it's specifically at least some office hours during the week. So there's that. We need someone that can be actively working with our volunteers. So not just coordinating and scheduling, but also actually doing the work with them, right? It's hard to volunteer when the person being paid isn't actually doing the same things you're doing, right? Now, y'all see me, if you come in on Sunday mornings, I'm vacuuming up cockroaches, right? So, I mean, I believe that staff should be doing everything they can in the church, but specifically on this, someone that's going to be teaching with the volunteers and working with the volunteers and working with the kids and so forth and so on. So, presence, work, and then someone that can handle the stresses of, I think, that position, which every job in the church is stressful. Certainly there are stresses with that one. Just the nature of dealing with kids, dealing with families, dealing with dramas that come along and so forth and so on there, where there comes from staff, volunteers, families, and so forth. And so I think those are the three big takeaways, at least on my end, that I see with that position. So I think we're getting very close to having someone or a plan for that, someone for that, and be looking for information for that, hopefully very quickly, for children's ministry here at the church. Other thing on there, just staff related, we have one janitor right now for all of this property, which is somewhere around 60,000 square feet. Okay, so how many of you like cleaning your own house? Let's imagine your house is 2,000 square feet, which is kind of like an average, right? Multiply that by how much? 30, right? And you kind of get an idea of what has to be done here. And it's nonstop. It's worship on Sunday mornings. It's First Kids 2 days a week. It's, Wednesdays are crazy here at the church. It's every meeting that goes on here, every ministry. So it's a hard job. So we are once again looking for at least one more janitor. So if you know of someone who can do this job here and do it with a smile on their face, Joy, y'all heard me preach today, right? Joy, yeah. So we certainly could use that. So I'm being serious. If you know of someone or someone comes your way, let us know. Let me know. Let the SPRC know. We'd love to be talking to them on that. And am I missing anything on SPRC-wise? No, that's the main things right now. Okay. So lay development, our nominations committee, they're the ones that are charged with identifying leaders in the church, nominating them, and helping them to grow as leaders. So it also involves our lay leaders in the church. And so Tom Kaler is our lay leader in the church. Say hi, Tom. Hi, Tom. Gabe Sansing is our lay ministry person here. He's a certified lay minister in the Global Methodist Church. Kim Johnson, I see John. Your other half is our, you're her spy, huh? Kim is our lay representative to annual conference. She's the one that represents our church on your side when we go have annual conference. And then we have nominations people on that team as well. Let's see, is Tommy here? Billy? No, okay. All right. Anyway, we have nominations people as well on our group. And so I bring that up, because the important work of bringing along the next group of leaders and supporting them as a church, but also typically in August, it is time for us to start looking at the next class of leaders in the church. So first of all, I want to say appreciation for our leadership. They do a lot of work here. You've heard a lot of what they do, and there's more to that as well. Everything from 10-hour meetings once a month to it's only slightly exaggerated, but all the stuff that goes in between as well, and just representing you as a church is a big job. So we appreciate everyone that serves in lay leadership here at this church in some way or form. And so would you give them all a big round of applause, please? Thank you. So on that note, trustees, finance, staff parish, and the three nominations people, they have a 3-year term. They roll off at the end of 3 years, and so we always roll someone onto there. All the other positions are 1-year terms. Some of them can continue. Some of them are meant to just be 1 year, and so we're getting ready to have a new class of leaders here pretty quickly. Here's what I ask of you, and you've heard how busy this is, right? Don't just raise your hand thinking you want to serve because you think it's cool. It is not cool at all. It's hard work, but if you feel a calling, I mean, literal, Holy Spirit is telling you right now that if you don't step up and serve on the finance team, that you're going to explode. Which, look at Prophet Jeremiah, okay? His heart was burning. He had to speak, right? So if you feel a burning within you, and it's not because you ate too much brisket earlier, then come talk to me, and I'd love to hear from you. Or talk to our lay leaders here at the church if you feel a calling to serve in some way here at the church, and we can help place you if you are called to do so.
Are you going to be posting a list of the openings?
I could. I meant to actually do that for today, and I didn't get there. So really what it comes down to is, in some way, just about every calling is going to need a place, right? There's always one SPRC, there's always one trustees, there's always one finance, always one related to nominations, lay development. We're still looking for someone to handle missions here at the church. There's a few other places. So pretty much, if there is a task within leadership, we need at least one person. So that's probably the best way to put it right now on that end. Yeah. And John, we got to talk about something later. So, all right, very good. Oh, she did. Very good. By the way, and is my mic still on? Yeah, okay, it is. This has nothing to do with this, but John, since you are retiring officially now, we thank you for your service to our community very much. We appreciate you. That's what I was talking about. All right. Okay. Ministries and worship update. So our other positions that I don't think I've covered so far are Age Level Ministries representative, which is Randy Kane. Oh yeah, there you are back there, Randy. And then Chip Arnold, who is our adult ministries representative right there. And like I mentioned, we don't currently have a missions representative. That was Larry Wilson. for our group, but they represent the broader context of ministries in our church. So a few things to talk about that on here. First of all, when it comes to a big part of the life of the church is Wednesday programming, and I've been preaching it from the pulpit for a while now, but we start another semester on September the 11th. Few changes this year, and I know it's been communicated, but I just want you to hear it once again. We're extending the meal time to 6:30 to allow for people that maybe work in Tyler or somewhere else to make sure they get here and have a meal. I want to note that Beth Lawson, who's been doing our meals for a long time, retired from that position at the end of the last semester, and so Chris Pemberton is taking on kind of the lead on that, and she has a huge team in place to lead that. But things, you are not going to get the same food because it's not the same person, right? So just know that things are going to be different, but it's still the same point of gathering together and fellowship and feasting well, and the prices are staying the same, and so there is not a cheaper meal in town on Wednesday nights, I promise you, unless you want QT hot dogs or something like that. I don't know, but otherwise, excuse me. Otherwise, a good deal. So something new we're incorporating, which shouldn't be a surprise, is worship, right? Worship is an important part of our life. So as the meal is finishing up at 6:15, we're going to have a short, brief time of some music, probably devotional of some kind, probably once a month communion, which will take up that time pretty much there, right? But worship in some form will exist each week as part of Wednesday programming, which should be normal for us and part of our life. Realistically, our kids and our youth in different ways have kind of been doing that anyway on Wednesdays, but we'll make it a church-wide thing at that time at 6:15, all over in the gym. And then, so we're starting later with our classes, but at 6:30, then we'll split off to our children's classes, our 5th, 6th grade program, our youth, and then our adult classes as well. I do note that Dale has already begun his Wednesday class, and so if you want to be in Dale's class, studying the book of Luke, and what's the book called again? Or what's the study called?
This one is just a little.
It's just Luke, okay. So anyway, if you want to be a part of that, by all means. Dale's a great teacher, and he does a great thing. And then I will be leading a Wednesday class of some kind. I thought I was doing a point group where we go through the sermon notes, which is really weird that I would be doing that since I preach it. But anyway, and that still may what happen, but the Spirit might be telling me otherwise between now and September the 11th. But I will have something at 6:30 on Wednesdays of some form. But yeah, that's Wednesday programming. It's always been a big deal here. I often tell you that when I came here to the church, right after I was told by the bishop that I was coming here in the first place, and I asked where Lindell was, and then I came up here to meet with leadership just to get to know them. The only thing they really emphasized was Wednesday programming. They didn't talk about anything else here. So obviously it's a big deal here at the church to focus on our Wednesday program. But it's small group time, it's fellowship time. It meets all of the key areas of our vision as a church. Okay, age level ministries. So I've talked about this also, but age level ministries are all of our ministries from birth all the way through youth. So it's nursery, it's First Kids, it's the children's ministry, it's Faith, which is our 5th, 6th grade program, it's Mercy, which is our youth program. So y'all been hearing about this, but just once again, on September the 8th at 5 o'clock, they're having training for age level ministries. If you volunteer in those areas, certainly we would like you to be a part of that, but really if you're interested perhaps, or maybe feel called to be a part of age level ministries, we'd love to have you be there as well. There will be a meal and then talk about the ministries and do training as also. I probably should note, I haven't been saying this from the pulpit, but part of being a church is we're very mindful of our kids and very protective of our kids. It's very important for us. So we have a ministry or a program here called Safe Sanctuaries, which has existed as Methodist for a long time. But we, everybody that interacts with kids in any way, shape, or form has to be background checked, and they have to go through our training at the church. Our training currently is online. It's not a huge deal, but it's an important deal. And if you want to know, I have to do it, okay? The pastor has to do it. If I have to do it, yes, you have to do it. It is not accusing you of anything or saying anything about you. We are trying to protect our kids, and we're trying to protect you as well. this training is just as much about covering our adults as it is our kids. And so it's an important part of it. So if you do feel called to volunteer, just know that that is a component of Age Level Ministries. Is everybody that volunteers in any way is background checked and trained to be with our kids. And the background checks are every 2 years. The training is every year. It's a lot, but it's important, right? So almost like I talked about being teachable today, huh? Go figure. Okay. All right. Randy, anything specific amongst the Age Level Ministries? We talk about it a lot on Sundays, obviously. If you have a child or a grandchild in the program or interested in the program, and you don't get information already, which we have remind groups, amongst other ways to communicate. But if you don't get those, let us know. We'll get you connected to those to be able to get that information for those. Okay. Adult ministries then are all of our small groups here at the church are part of adult ministries, and Chip over the last several months has been getting to know a lot of y'all in your classes and getting engaged with that. Point groups are something we started last year, another great thing here, another opportunity for you to be in small groups, which is a very Methodist thing. I'm pleased to say that we have a couple of groups that are getting ready to split because they've gotten to a point where they're ready to have a couple of classes. In fact, one may even have 3 classes. We'll see how it goes. So we're finalizing information on those, and once I know exactly when our point groups are going to be in the fall and where they're going to be and who's leading them, all that kind of stuff, I will share that with the church. That way, if you're not in a point group and would like to be in one, we can get you connected to that. I also plan on doing something probably in October where we get all of our point groups together and just kind of share with each other and get to know each other. So we're working on that also. But officially, if you are a member of the Global Methodist Church, you're asked to be in a small group of some kind. Could be in a point group, could be a Sunday school class, could be in a Bible study. Choir is a small group. I mean that very passionately. If you're in the choir, you share your life as a person. I know that very much. So there are so many opportunities to be in small groups here, and there's always ways to get new ways for you to get involved or to create new ways. And so if you're not in a small group of some kind, talk to me. That's my job to talk to you and help you to get either connected to something or get you into something new perhaps. But we want to support you because as much growing as we do on Sunday mornings at the church within worship, you do much more when you're in a small group of some kind. That's just where you really get to know others and also get to share the journey with Jesus Christ with others. It's just so powerful for us to be in small groups. So please, if you can, get connected if you're not already and talk to me about that. Mention Sunday school classes on there just because we do a lot of Sunday school classes here, a lot of adult classes. There are a lot of options here at the church to be in. They're all very, in different ways, by groups, fitting different needs. But we're always looking to do other ones as well. We need a parents class right now, I'll be honest with you. And if someone feels called to be a person to lead a parents class, I'd love to hear from you because that's probably where we're missing, one area we're missing right now. But that's kind of the key stuff on that. Okay. Missions. Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
The September 8th meeting.
Yeah.
For Age Level Ministries.
Yeah.
It's not only training.
Yeah.
It's also meeting.
Yeah.
Just wanted that to be clear, so if people think it's only training for Safe Sanctuary, it's
Yeah.
actually meeting as well.
Yeah. It's getting to know what's going on and being in the same page, right? Absolutely right. Yeah. So it's getting in line with the Age Level Ministries. Thank you, ma'am. Yeah. I don't remember what the flyer said. Do you remember, Mark? RSVPing for the meeting? Let Mark or Ashley know if you want to attend that, if you plan on attending that. Thank you. Good question. Okay. Thank you. Missions, like I mentioned, we do not currently have a representative for that. We will rectify that in the next round of nominations. But the big missions things going on, obviously every quarter we have a mission project. We're finishing off the diaper drive right now. The fall is always coats and shoes for trunk or treat, so we'll be looking for information about that very soon. But we just had a great mission trip to Costa Rica back in July. Everybody that I've talked to that went on that trip felt it was an amazing experience, and I think that was a good thing. So we'll look into doing more international or distance-related mission trips in the future, but also trying to focus on what we can do more locally as well as church within in our context, because there's a mission to be done wherever the case may be. Obviously, it's important for us to go out in different ways and share in Jesus Christ and offer Christ to others through service. Other notes on there, quarterly combined worship services. So I love that we do that. We've been doing that now for a couple of years intentionally. We've done combined services in the past, but intentionally every quarter. So the next one is on Sunday, November 3rd. That is also All Saints Sunday, an important day in the life of the church. But this on November 3rd, we'll have another combined worship service at 10 o'clock. It will be here in the sanctuary on that day. And the next church conference, which you're in the church conference right now, will be in November also. And that will be our annual church conference, where we do the official Global Methodist business of the church for the year, including fully electing our next leadership slate, amongst other things. Okay. Beth, Stephen, did I miss anything on that? Okay. All right. Time for questions. So let me get this microphone fired up here. All right. Questions? Yes, ma'am. Miss Judy.
Parent classes.
Yes.
Is that a Sunday school class for parents, or is that a Sunday school class to teach parents about being a parent?
Great question. I like that. I don't have the vision for that yet, but that's a good question. It's meant to be a class for parents, but that doesn't mean that teaching about parenting shouldn't be a part of that, right? So if someone feels called to that, I have a feeling that, that's a good way to share our experience, right, as a people. So good. Go figure an educator would ask a question like that. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. But all I know is that we have people asking for a class specifically tailored to parents and their needs, right? But parenting obviously can be a part. Thank you. I don't know, but it's certainly what we need to talk about. And like I said, if anybody called to be a part of that or lead that, I would love to talk to you. Okay. Miss Ashley. Yes, ma'am.
So with our faith program and varsity program, our curriculum,
Yeah.
we do have a parent class curriculum
Oh.
that goes along with it
Okay.
to help decipher the kids
Okay.
through what they're learning.
Okay.
So we have a good opportunity to use that and love that. That kind of was the ultimate vision to begin with.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean that the vision can change.
Okay. Cool. So connected to the curriculum that is specifically being used for our fifth graders and sixth graders and our youth, there is a parent component to that. So that's actually a good thing to know. Maybe you feel called to lead that, but you don't want to have to be the one to develop the program or develop curriculum. Well, guess what? We got curriculum already, right? So, and it fits perfectly into what our kids, specifically our older kids, are going through and learning. So thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. Joe.
I know that the solar system is still fairly new,
Yeah.
but I'm kind of curious if we're seeing any benefits from it yet.
Yeah, good question. So, Aaron, solar system, he's probably looking at his phone right now to check it, but on a sunny day, I put that there. I should have known it was there. On a good sunny day, that building specifically, which has the most panels, there are times when it is running negative, meaning it's generating more than we are than using. Now, the way our way the program works is we didn't necessarily pay money for the panels, right? And we talked about this. Instead, we pay the installer basically how much, or pay them for the electricity we're generating and using. Does that make sense, right? Which honestly, we're still figuring out how that works. We're still developing that. We paid them some money so far, but we're still figuring that out. But that's for 6 years we do that. At the end of 6 years, then it's their ours, period, right? And they should last way beyond then. But we know that, like I said, on a good sunny day, that building specifically can go negative. So yes, sir.
So at 5 o'clock, we're at 87% production on the FMC, and this building is at 47%. And the only thing that I've been, I won't say fighting with the electric company on, I have learned that half of our bill is for the biggest 15-minute surge that we have for each meter. So there's a meter at the FMC, there's a meter here, Fellowship Hall, office, so on and so forth. And so when people come in and turn all of the ACs on all at once, that was creating that surge. And so it doesn't matter how much we're producing, they're gonna set the bill off that. So one thing we've been trying to do is turn the ACs on at like 3 or 4 in the morning, staggered every 30 minutes to get the building cooled down so that at 8 o'clock when everyone comes in, they're not feeling the need to do that. So we're trying to maximize what we're doing. But we start running backwards at like 10 a.m.,
Yeah,
which is crazy,
yeah.
so.
Good project, and that's an important thing that y'all been working on, is just how we schedule things. Obviously, the biggest energy user on a building is the air conditioner, right? I mean, it's just normal. And so, yeah, like on a Sunday morning, if they all kicked on, all being like, because we use all these buildings, right? If they all kicked on at 8 o'clock, our bill is based off that huge surge at once. And so they have been staggering that at 30-minute increments across all the units to try to minimize that surge. And so just know that on that note, when you want to use a family ministry center for whatever ministry you're doing, we have to be cognizant of that. So when we are programming air conditioning stuff, we're trying to help with that issue too. So just know that there's always things that we are having to navigate as we deal with our facilities here.
And if something's always hot or always cold, please let us know so we can try and adjust it, so you don't just go in there and crank it down.
Yeah. If possible, don't touch thermostats, okay? Now, if you've got a class scheduled and it's 80 degrees in there and it's just because we forgot to schedule it on a thermostat, then by all means you can adjust it. Although, quite frankly, the easiest thing is to text me. I can change it from my phone in like 2 seconds, okay? So that's that can adjust also scheduling on that, but yeah. Okay, yeah.
Are the air conditioning units done? So like if you're only gonna use whatever, what it used to be, the youth room, can you only turn the AC on for the youth room, or only gym?
Yeah. So every unit is associated with a certain part of any given building, right? So let's take this room right here. There's 3 units that run this building right now. It's yes, there you go. You did it. So they're labeled Sanctuary East, Sanctuary West, and then Choir Loft up here. And so for like this meeting, I scheduled these 3 spaces plus the bathrooms, so 4 spaces for those zones. But I didn't touch the West Hall or the end of the building because we're not using them right now. So the zoning is based on, it's kind of it's already there because of the way the units are set up. And so that's how we look at it, though. Typically, if we can only need to use part of the family ministry center for an event, say the youth room, then we'll use those 3 units. There's 3 units for the youth room. Other times we have to use all the units in a given building, like on a Sunday morning, but we try to do with this where we stagger them, where it's pulling off there. So there is a certain zoning just because that's the way it's set up. And we try to, as much as possible, utilize that rather than just running for the sake of running. Yeah, good question. Terry.
With the fiber optics,
Yes, sir.
are we, with the fiber optics issue, are we putting steel pipe and running the fiber optics through that so we won't have this issue again?
They're going to be using a rugged fiber. It's about 3/4 of an inch. You go over to the church office, you can actually see part of the installation where it's coiled up. They haven't installed it yet, but it is a rugged fiber, which is how it should have all been done if it was brand new.
So the
Protected, yes.
fiber that was used here currently was not protected. So what they're using isn't protected. I don't think it's steel specifically, but it's a type that's supposed to be.
It's
Yeah,
it's a coating on it.
yeah.
Second question.
Yeah.
What's the price going for the house owners?
So good question. The list price as of last week is, yeah. 279.9, yeah. So that's where we currently, 279, yeah, you know, below 280, you know, the whole searching thing, yeah. Yeah. But that's currently where it's listed at, yeah. Yeah.
So, have y'all seen the 1.5 to 2-inch metal conduit going straight across down the fellowship hall and into the office? So the fiber will be running through that, not draped across, that gets taken out every time it rains and a tree branch falls on it.
Yeah.
So that was another thing that they've done to improve it.
Yeah, so it's, you know, sometimes church stuff gets piecemealed over time. It's a byproduct of work that's being done or volunteer labor. And it's just is what it is. It's normal for a church, but we're trying to take care of it all at once to minimize that situation in this case, because we have to. We rely so heavily on our fiber optic network here, and trying to make sure it's done as good as it can be done right now, and that way it can last for a long time. Yeah. Yes, John.
Do we have any, I know it's kind of scary to ask, because 10 years ago, we had long-term plans. Besides the new gym, we had this other plans. Is there,
Yeah.
do we as a church have some, like a future vision of what changes we could utilize in this property?
Yeah.
Because I know the current office is getting older and older and older and different things, so I don't know if that's something you do annually or something, is update that.
Yes. So, yeah, y'all had a big plan for 20 years ago to do a lot of things, and that's where the family ministry center came from. Y'all had plans to reshape this sanctuary back then, amongst others, and some got done, some didn't. Right. So, 2 years ago, before we began talking about discernment and disaffiliation, we hired an architecture company that I've worked past to develop a master plan for our property, which they did do for us, and it needed some more work, but then we hit disaffiliation, so that kind of got sidelined. It's still on the table, but I mean, one of the big things that we know we need is better access to the property, right? And so the lot over here that used to have the house on it, we envision having an entrance over there off Mount Sullivan, which is a good thoroughfare, a lot more effective. Yes, the office is 55 years old, something like that. And it certainly looks like, I mean, it's functional, but it's got its issues. The fellowship hall has issues, but we're maximizing it and doing what we can with it. So there have been, there's been work envisioning. It's currently sidelined as we navigate through this time of shifting changes and so forth and so on, but it's still continue looking at that. You should always be looking forward, and I preached on that before. But if you're staying stagnant, then you're dead, right? So you've got to be looking at what is. It is not a surprise that Lindale is still a rapidly growing community. It has been for a long time, and it will continue to be. I heard Mr. Surratt speak a couple weeks ago, and the only thing that kept our district really from becoming 5A is just because, not that we don't have enough houses, but they're too expensive right now. So, I mean, their houses are there. People want to be here. There's growth here. We haven't kept up as a church, and so what do we need to do to be better about that and continue to offer Christ to as many people as possible here in Lindale? We're always great about ministry here. We all know that. A lot of great ministries happen here. But there's more that we could be doing, and part of it is our facilities and how we can utilize them as effectively as possible and continue to move forward. I want to point out, I mean, just simple things that, maybe you do, is your classroom, okay? Y'all did a great job of remodeling it just a few weeks ago. If y'all walked in the hallway, it's called the Revive class now. It was a Pairs and Spares for a long time. I'm sure it was other things at other points in time, but y'all did a great job of that. So sometimes that's just that. Somebody taking on an initiative of putting extra work in that our trustees can't do because they're already pushed to the limits, but just improving things where people feel called. We have wonderful people here in this room right now that have been doing a lot of work with our grounds, with our flower beds, got other visions. It's stuff that your staff cannot do. Church staff always needs 30% more people than they have, and they need to be paid 100% more than they get paid, right? So just stuff that your staff cannot do, and our leadership team is already taxed. So if other people feel called to take on things, then by all means, I love it. If you have a concrete company and can do driveways, talk to me. I'd love to talk to you about an entranceway. I don't think that is here, but you never know, right? But yeah, it's there, but not yet. I hope that next year we can it's priority, but not. That's always a struggle. Is there always so many other things taking our attention, and that's not a good thing. I have to acknowledge that. So at some point, you just have to make it the priority. I think hopefully next year we can re-engage that and look more to the future about what can be. Yeah.
We did discuss.
Yeah.
We did discuss the possibility of having a long-range plan. I'm sure I'm loud enough for everybody. We did discuss having, making a separate, like, team that worked on long-range plans instead of, because leadership team is always
Taxed.
pretty busy.
Yeah.
So to add that in would, it got pushed to the back burner because it wasn't something that required attention right away.
And it's not, the United States is not in a good mood right now. We're fundraising for a $10 to $20 million project,
Yeah.
Which the new buildings are.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, new building is very expensive. But I think it probably is a good plan to have a separate team that works on long-range planning.
Yeah.
Of course, with the pastor involved in that.
Thank you. Yes. As Gabe was doing this, it is money, right? It is. That is a big part of it. Yeah. Insurance and air conditioning, all those things, right? Absolutely. Yeah. Let me get Sue and then I'll get you, Terry, okay?
I've been encouraged in our Sunday school class in the last, let's just say 2 years since we made our transition.
Yeah.
That we've had probably 6 or 8 new people come into the Sunday school class.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, since we don't know what's necessarily happening next door.
Yeah.
Are we growing? Have we actually received new members in the past 2 years? And where is that growth? Are people joining?
Yeah.
Are they just attending?
Oh, I think some are attending, not yet ready to make the leap to joining, but we have had a number of people join over the last 2 years in the church. A lot of it you see over there, but not just over there. We have some in this service. To be blunt, we have lost more than we've gained. It had to be absolutely acknowledged that. Both those that left right away when the vote happened, those that stuck around for a few months but then left, and then others that have filtered away. I mean, I just learned of a family not that long ago that breaks my heart. So it's still a struggle, right? We're still living into who we are. We have seen new faces. There's people in this room right now that have been here and have come in the last 2 years. So that's an encouraging thing. But I don't want to say we need to do better, because I think we're doing as much as we can. But we just have to keep navigating what we're going through right now. Now, in the end, all my preacher friends love to share this. Most of the people that join a church, most being 70, 80%, come because of you, right? It is a fraction of a percent of people that come to church because Pastor Michael is at Starbucks talking to people. I don't go there anyway, but the point being is that you are the ones that help people become part of the life of the church. Now, there's people in this room that are great about that, Scott Castle. Sorry, my friend, but if you want to learn from someone about how to just invite people to church and get in their lives, he is a great example right there, and I mean that very wholeheartedly. But a lot of people here because of that. He is better than a lot of people in doing that, and we should all be that way. Who are your neighbors? They tell you to go in the church. Are they really going to the church, or are they just, is that really what they say? Who are people within your sphere of influence? Who are you inviting to church? Now, we can be better at certain things today in our second service, thanks to Mark and his team. We developed a new, little more focused, welcoming strategy in that service. Hard to invite new people to church if they don't feel like they're welcome when they come there, right? So you got to have all those things in place, classes in place, that kind of stuff. But we're working on the areas that we need to work on. But y'all are the ones that, in the end, have to get engaged. Now, this is, since you bring it up, this is where I'm gonna preach real quick. If you have a friend or a family member that is part of the life of this church and they haven't been around in the last few weeks, few months, last 2 years, you got to get in their lives. I know it's not comfortable to go talk to your friend from Sunday school that you haven't seen in a while because you don't want to have that difficult conversation about where they've been. You got to do it because they're not going to listen to me. You are the ones that are friends with, right? If you see people that have kind of faded out of our family, you've got to talk to them. You've got to get in their lives. You got to ask questions, and they're not going to want to talk about it sometimes. But you got to talk to them. You are the ones that can help them get back in the life of the church. Okay, so please, I think we as a people are way too timid when it comes to wanting to be confrontational, if you want to use that word, but actually be not just surface level, but actually get into each other's lives. So if you have somebody like that, Sunday school class friend that you haven't seen in a while, or somebody that used to sit on the pew with you or in the chairs with you, or whatever the case may be, and you haven't seen them in a while, talk to them. Talk to them. Figure out what's going on. And if there's something that can be done, get them back here. Get them back engaged in the life of the church. They need you to be that linchpin to get them back into the life of the church. I think that's a bigger area is where we've people that have just kind of faded into the ether, and they need y'all to be the ones to bring them back into the family. So, yeah.
In addition to that,
Yeah.
because we know that giving comes from people who
Yeah.
are in the church.
Yeah.
Do we see giving from those who are just participating online that we might have lost
Yeah.
their attendance during COVID?
I think so. Yeah, I've lost my percentages in my heads, but I'm not saying it's as easy to be engaged in giving if you're not physically present, but I still see that those people, a lot of those people, are still actively giving, but it makes it even harder, right? Yeah, it's physical connection is church, and we've kind of, there's some people that for good reasons still have to do that, but to the best of our ability, you be mindful of that. Yeah. Let me get Terry real quick. He had a hand up.
I just want to know about the construction in front.
Yeah. Okay.
Are they getting paid for that?
Yeah. So 2019, we sold our easement away. Early 2019, in fact. So 5.5 years ago. According to the City of Lindale's Facebook page, about 2 weeks ago, this week or the next week. Do you believe that? I don't know. I will say that I bash Facebook so much, and I should because it's really difficult at times, but I think the city is doing a lot better job the last month or so, maybe longer, of really being good about engaging and sharing in a healthy way. So I, at the moment, think that may be the truth. Now, that same post said it was dependent upon AT&T and something that had to be moved. I ain't seen AT&T around, so I don't know that for sure, but that was the last utility that needed to be addressed. But if they're saying that, I expect to see construction out here fairly quickly. What that same post said is that they intend on having 2 lanes always. There's only 2 lanes there right now. I don't know how that's going to work, but I'm willing to bet that they're going to pour a new, maybe a temporary lane and then begin their work. So that's my assumption with my very limited commercial road construction knowledge. But that's where I've heard. And so I expect it sooner than later. That's the best way to put it. And it could be very, very soon. Yeah. Yeah. If you look at what's been done now, it's obvious that it's still got a good ways to go, right? So 2 years is probably a good idea. Once you start seeing that, it's going to be a couple years of fun. Yes. Yes, Ms. Judy.
I'm gonna ask a second question.
Yeah, that's okay. Ask away.
And it's just bouncing off of Sue.
Yeah.
Back in the day when church was, after the sermon, we'd have the invitation hymn.
Yeah.
And people would come to the front, and we don't do that
Yeah,
anymore.
yeah.
We don't know when someone has joined our church.
Mm-hmm.
I'm all for building the membership.
Yeah.
But the mission is to build the kingdom.
It's disciples, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And I personally would like to see in some communication from, email, X number join from another church. I don't need to know the church. I don't need to know their name.
Yeah.
And X number made professions of faith.
Sure, yeah.
And I think sometimes we're all about numbers and building the numbers, but we've got to be building the kingdom.
Absolutely, yeah. I will note that when we do the next meeting, that's one of the reports is given, but that's only for the year, right? And so you're not seeing it in real time, I guess is the word. So I can see what we can do about that. Absolutely, good question. Yeah, yeah. What's that? It is interesting how culture has changed. That is not exactly culturally appropriate anymore. But it should be. We should be engaged, right? Yeah.
Do we have any external marketing efforts?
External marketing. Would you tell me more about how would you define external marketing? Let's put it that way.
So internal marketing is when we update, people who are coming to the church on who, what, when, whys, and wheres.
Yeah.
How are we telling the community who we are to come so that all these new people, like you said, we've got tons of housing, tons of new people. How are we getting in front of them externally to let them know that we're here, come visit? Yeah,
so we're probably weak in that, right? So I mean, we have our social media presence for Facebook, and it's pretty good. We're a member of the Chamber of Commerce, and so we're out there for what it's worth. We have a good Chamber of Commerce here, by the way. I really do believe that. Really, it's mostly word of mouth. And so is it a focus thing? I would say no. And so perhaps that's something we do need to think about and focus on more. How do you, I think we've been dependent upon word of mouth and reputation for a long time, which the church is well known as far as being missional and engaged in ministry in the community. But is that enough, right, to get our out there? So I see all sorts of hands. Yeah, so at Country Fest, right, we're there, we're there, but it could be more. So good question to ask and to ponder upon beyond those things. It's not, if I talk about service level, it's still kind of surface level. Yeah, so we could do better. Yes. I see Ashley and Peyton. Are y'all tying into this one? Okay, okay. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Is it something that in the future we might need to do a sort of marker for our church so that we don't get more of our church taken away? Across the street we're combating the wall.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not really a question for you to answer, it just might be something that let it lie and maybe we think about it.
Yeah, so if you walk outside here, if you start walking down these sidewalks that go to FM 16, about halfway down is where the sidewalk will be a curb. I've heard different things, but that's going to be where we sold off there. So that's how much we're losing here in front of us, right? Over here, it's all the way up to the curb of the parking lot. Technically, then there's utility easements that come further, right? So there's not a lot of room left for them to take, quite frankly, but I mean, yes, we also can't afford to lose much more. So good question. Yeah. Mark, were you going to say something? Yeah. Sorry, shouldn't be using two microphones.
I've got some thoughts on several questions that have been asked, sort of about kind of tying to what Sue was saying and what Christine was saying, talking about that service across the street and, how are we getting new members and external marketing. Forgive me, I'm gonna ramble for just a second, okay? So the church that I was in before, we were the church that came into an established community and took 300 or 400 people showing up on Sunday, and it's all the young families, and we were the church that upset people because it's like those were all our people went. We were doing a very good job of reaching that demographic of people. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying I have some ideas and some things in a tool bag that are like, hey, that could kind of help spur some of that. As we were kind of in talks of some things that we could do to kind of maybe just get some traction going across the street and move those areas, we kind of started thinking about, hey, what's going to happen if we, in a fantasy land, or if the Lord provides and 100 visitors walk in the door over there, what are they walking into?
Yeah.
And realistically, it's kind of funny to say we're looking at a different demographic than the first service, but the same cultural elements apply, right? My wife and my little one came to the first service a few weeks ago, and she was just overwhelmed by how welcoming and hospitable and awesome the people in this service were. And the same things need to happen across the street. It just has to be packaged a little differently. So here's kind of what I have going forward. A lot of the stuff that y'all are asking, I have thoughts about. I had a meeting at my house this Friday, and we started kind of a core team for a welcoming ministry that's focused on just engaging people when they come in, because people over there they are welcoming. They have Jesus in their heart, and they want to see that service grow. It's just maybe we haven't mobilized them to do that. So we're kind of starting with cleaning up our side of the street for a few months. In January, we're going to open it up and have more people join that team. We're kind of planning a work day to maybe kind of declutter and redo that space over there so it's a little more friendly for people to get information and how do I get plugged in and make contacts with those people. Once we kind of get that going, the plan is, especially for new members, to get the new member class kind of going back. I think a lot of people are just attending and aren't becoming members because maybe they really don't know how, or they feel kind of awkward going to ask Michael about it. So we're going to bring the new member class back within the next 12 months once we get kind of the welcome team going and then the new member class. And once we have those things in place, I've got like some picture and video and social media like marketing plans to get our name out there a little more, because the demographic we're looking for, that's where they're finding that stuff is on the internet. So a lot of that stuff is it's not just sitting unthought of. It's things that I'm thinking about and praying about, and other people in the church are too. And I would say the biggest thing that if you're not involved on that side of the street in that service, the biggest thing you could do to support all those efforts, if you're not kind of connected to that, is just be in prayer for the people in that service, for just the culture that exists over here in that early morning service to kind of permeate over there. Because the big ministry has been happening in this church for a long time, and I think we can kind of ramp it up over there and meet a lot of those needs again too. It's just a matter of energy and the Lord blessing it and workers to just go out and reap the harvest, because it's there. So I hope my mini sermon that I just gave answered some of those questions, but that's kind of where we're at. And if you want to get involved with any of that, just talk to me. I'm sure we have somebody at UCU.
Thank you. I'll note that probably one of our best way to connect to different people in the community is actually First Kids. It's always been, right? Right. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Thank you. Yes. Right. Joy. But I mean, First Kids have been around for 25 years, and we've never fully tapped into that. So we're once again pondering upon that and how we can be better about engaging with those families. Because I think at First Kids, maybe 2, 3, 4 kids are connected to our church at best. So out of 100, right? So, and a lot of them, they say they go to church, but it's once again, culturally, you can say you go to any church, but are you really engaged in a church, right? So how can we better engage with them? I'm going to Peyton real quick. I'll come back up here. She's been raising her hand very, very patiently. Yes, ma'am.
I don't like microphones. Hi. So I have a couple of questions about the music ministry, or the children's ministry.
Okay.
I came in late, sorry. So you probably already answered some of this, but I'm gonna ask it anyway, because I don't know. Children's ministry coordinator, we do not have a firm date.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I hope very quickly.
Okay. Also, the new building that we're in.
Yeah.
We need a couple of things, and we need to know how to make that happen. We need, those windows have got to be.
It's in place, yeah.
Okay.
Already work. It's sitting in my office.
And then we've got 3 classrooms. They all lock.
Yeah.
And one of them doesn't have a window, so we can't use
It's
it.
on the radar too, yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just manpower right now on those things, but yes.
Okay.
Are aware, for sure.
And
thank
then
you,
do we
yeah.
have a security plan in place for Wednesdays and Sundays for the new building for the kids?
Yeah, I've talked to that with some of our key volunteers otherwise, and I think we've got a plan in place. We're still working out over the next few weeks, but I think we're almost there, that end, so,
Okay.
yeah. Very important, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and I think it will be also an Age Element Ministry training. We'll focus on that also, just make sure we're on the same page for that before, because that's 3 days before Wednesday program again, so good, yeah. Yes, there are a handful of, if you feel called to give time to help with projects around here, we have many that we could be helped with, so just let us know. I'd love to talk to you about those. Or talk to Mark or Ashley, because they know about them also. Yes, I think it's one of those things that we talked about trustees. We don't want to dump it all on them. So moving a door, which is one of them, they shouldn't have to deal with that. I don't want them messing with that. So we just need somebody that can actually do it. It's
Well,
their
and the
account.
other thing is, without a children's ministry coordinator or director, we have our own, I say we, sorry. The children's ministry
Yeah.
has their own budget,
Yeah.
and I guess anybody can approve to pull out of that. We just need to be pulling out of that for repairs to that building.
No,
No?
it's not really.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
well, if something comes along that's children's ministry related right now, I'm the one that asks me, is what it comes down to when it
Okay.
gets spent. Typically, I have to order it anyway for what it's worth. So yeah, it's done. Yeah. But it's for what it's worth. Typically, when an expense has to be made, it comes from me anyway. So that's typically. People are empowered within ministries to utilize it, obviously, but yeah. Okay. Good. Thank you, ma'am. Dale. Yes, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Sorry. In regard to the marketing concept, I think one of many, but one that we have is the Methodist men of this church every year hold a breakfast for the brand new teachers for Lindale ISD. And this year we had 52 new teachers. And so we furnish them breakfast, and we give them a talk about our church. And we also, the superintendent gives them a speech and lets them know that we're one of the first places they come when they begin their career is to our church. And we give them a gift certificate furnished by the Methodist men that lets them, gives them some help in preparing their classroom for the year.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good outreach.
I agree, and the Methodist men do a great job with that. I get to speak in that, and I get to invite all of those happy teachers to come and join our church and visit us, and we've had some, including recently, come and visit with us, and we get put on the school district Facebook page, right, because of that. So there's ways that we do it. It's just maybe not consistent throughout the year, and then and focused, right? Yeah, we have ways, but it could be focused more. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
This has to do with the marketing also. Trunk or treat. I know Ashley's already working on this, but I was so impressed when we gave away that $100 gift certificate. Everybody came through and signed up, and we asked them if they had a church home. We got their phone number, so there's a good follow-up right there. So I was pleased too at how well they responded to it. So another way to get people.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am. All right. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I attended yesterday an evangelism workshop put on by the GMC School of Ministry. It was held at the Methodist Church in Shreveport, where the annual conference was earlier this year. The presenters yesterday were two of the pastors that specialize in evangelism, and also our Bishop, Scott Jones, who taught evangelism when he was at Perkins School of Theology. I had a handout that had 20 points on the handout. I got a copy for Pastor Michael, one for Mark, and one for Ashley, and I had one for myself that I'd written notes all over, and I shared it with Chip, and I'm hopeful he'll give me that back. But these are things I'm going to bring to leadership, because they stressed that it's important to get people's contact information and follow up on it. And also the appearance of the church. We talked about the appearance of the church earlier, you did. is critical. And who are we trying to bring into our church? Who lives in a 5-mile radius of this church? A lot of things that we probably think about but don't participate in doing that we could be doing. And with regards to trunk or treat, I brought it up last year to leadership, and it didn't happen, but we do a great job. This church does a fantastic job of meeting the physical needs of people that are in our community. We do a wonderful job. We're known for that. Are we known for giving them the spiritual needs they have as well? And that's what we need to be focusing on, in my humble opinion. I've learned all this during my minister training, and I'm trying to continue that even further. And I'm going to bring it up in leadership, and I'll probably ruffle feathers, but we got to do that from time to time. So be thinking about that. And the other thing is as Michael mentioned in service this morning, we are all called to be evangelists for Jesus' word. That's what the disciples were. That one day Michael asked me to preach. I brought it up that we're not apostles, we are disciples, and we are to be spreading the word of Jesus. So I would encourage everybody here to think about when they first accepted Christ, and have a 2-minute elevator speech prepared to share with somebody that asks you about that, when you accepted Christ and how important it is to you and what it's meant to your life as you did that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, sir. All right. Yes, of course you can.
So the classes through the GMC for certified lay ministry, you can take 10 of them and be a certified lay minister, but you don't have to take 10 of them. I've taken like 6 now. They all have like a lot of significance for just being leaders in the church. There's one on leadership, there's one on small groups. I've talked to several people about the small group one. It's just like being able to be a good facilitator as a small group, because sometimes when you're in adult ministry and you're talking to adults, sometimes the leader is not the smartest one in the room. I feel that way in youth ministry, and I'm an adult. So just so you know, those I can publish those for the GMC, but they're only $15 and it only takes like 4 hours of a Saturday. But the spiritual aspect that you'll start understanding how the GMC is so on track. I think for me specifically, it has given me a lot of that spiritual aspect. I've been asking those same questions. I'm so excited that you're asking those questions about how can we bring the spiritual aspect to the community and to our church, and that really needs to be our first step forward, So how can we give them Jesus? And so I think I sound like a broken record in the office, but I'm always like, well, how is this fulfilling our mission? I think we love others really, really well, but sometimes those other aspects are missing. And so for our big events, I want to round that out. So there's going to be some changes and some like adding things in, and we don't like change. We're a little resistant to change, so I'm not trying to like rip the Band-Aid off, right? But if y'all will help me in having those kind of spiritual aspect components, if you have ideas, I want to hear them, because my ideas sometimes are crazy and they are maybe expensive and maybe not what need to happen. So anyway, but yes, I'll publish those for the GMC classes, $15, 4 hours on a Saturday, lots and lots of spiritual stuff, and then come talk to me if you have any ideas.
All right.
Both.
There's options for both. Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah. And our conference probably is leading the denomination when it comes to lay ministry, lay training like this, offering classes about, not probably, I know they are, other conferences learning from us. So we have some good people in place in our conference that are trying to develop these classes. And it's all sorts of different topics and led by really good people. So yeah, Ashley can publish that. Gabe's obviously been through it. Chip's done some of it also. Okay. Okay. So in October. Okay. So the next round is in October in Lakeview. We can share that also. Yeah. Lakeview is obviously close by, relatively speaking. Okay. All right. Anyone else? All right. So, probably my question for you is, do you feel that this is productive? Okay. All right. I encourage you to encourage others to engage in this. The church is always wanting to know more, I think, and so we offer the opportunity for you to learn and ask questions. If you, out in the parking lots, hear people complaining that they don't know about something, what are you going to tell them? Go to the church conference. Hey, how about that? I know, that's my broken record. I say that, but I know it happens, right? We're doing all that we can to share information and answer questions. Know that between now and November, if you have questions, I'm always available. I say this a lot. I try not to be scary. I don't yell a lot. I don't hiss at you. I don't hit. I'm here to talk to you and answer your questions. So talk to me, please. I'm always here. And it's quite literal, all right? I'm always here, more than I should be, but I'm always here. So I want to be here for you. Your leadership team is here for you as well. You saw most of them today. The lists are out there if you don't know who they are, but talk to them as well. That's what they are also part of, to be your representatives in the church, right? But we can get so much more accomplished if we just all are learning together and growing together and talking with each other and all of those wonderful things that are in the Bible, because they sure are right there. Okay. I think we're good. Thank you all as always. Thank our leadership team for being a part of this. And go out there and share this information. We recorded this, and so we will also share that probably by YouTube once that's all taken care of, and have people point to that as well. But we appreciate you. So you probably know my practice when we close the meeting is to say the Lord's Prayer. What a wonderful way for us to be in communication with God, to be in fellowship with our Creator, and to do so as our Lord called us to do so, also to do so as so many other Christians across the world do as well. So let's pray the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine and the glory forever. Amen. Amen. Thank you all.